Hi everyone, in this video we are going to work on Odoo OWL JavaScript. So here, as you can see, inside the sales module I have added a new button, customers. I have added it using OWL JavaScript. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do using Odoo Web Library, that is OWL JavaScript. And I have added this button using the same, and once I click on this button it redirects me to a new action, which is the customer action. So you can see all of the customers, and we can click to open any record. So I have added this button in this list view, and this is only specific to sales module. So if I open, for example, invoicing, it is not appearing here, or even the customers itself, it will not be appearing in the list view. In this video we are going to just add this button in the list view, and in the next videos, in the upcoming videos, we are going to add it in the form view as well as in the Kanban view. So we are going to do a lot of customizations in Odoo using OWL JavaScript. So let's start with this basic exercise to add this button in the list view. Alright, so first of all we are simply going to add a button here, and later on we are going to add an action behind that button. So first let's display that customers button over here in the list view. So I'm going to my static source and the XML folder. Here I have a file listcontroller.xml. Now all of these buttons here are controlled by a template named web.listview.buttons. So this is the main template actually, which we are going to inherit. In our case we are just going to add a new button in this template. So let me just inherit this and add a new button for us. So I'm just going to use the inheritance. So I am going to use my module name to name it list.listview.buttons, and then we are going to specify the template that we are inheriting actually, that is web.listview.buttons. And then we have to specify the inherit mode, which in our case is extension, as we are going to extend the existing template. Then we have to use XPath. Normally, like we do for the normal views, we have to actually put our button inside this div, and inside this div we can see that there is a class name oListButtons, and if I select it, so it's a unique class name, so we can use this as an identifier to put our button inside the div. So for the expression I'm going to use has class, and in has class we are simply going to copy and paste that class. So until now we got the div that we want to put our button into. Next we have to specify the position of our button, the position of whatever the code we are going to put inside this, and that would be inside because we want to put our button inside this div. So then we are going to add our button. Class equals to, and let's say customers. This is just to identify this button in case if we are going to use it. Just put it as a normal button, and I'm just going to name it as customers. So by doing so, it will add this specific button inside this div, inside this specific template. So after adding it in the XML, we have to be sure that we have added it in the assets in our manifest. So I'm going to add it in our assets, So I am just gonna put the path of that file. It is static source XML and this controller.xml. So by doing so, we should be able to see our button on the list view. So let's just restart the server, go to apps and activate our module. So if I go to sales, you can see that the button is coming here, customers. But of course this button will not do anything. Instead it will throw an error if I try to click on this button, because we have not specified anything. So we have to write the JavaScript for this to redirect to something or perform some action. So let's go and add our JavaScript class. So here in this JavaScript file, I have already imported some required classes: the list controller, registry, and the list view. So let's try to add some on-click event for our button or an action for our button. So in this case, we are just going to extend the list controller so that once we click that button, it should know that which action or which function I have to call. So for that, we have to export class, and this will be your class name. I'm just gonna rename it as this, and we are going to extend the list controller. Here I am going to add a function show customers, and inside this basically I am going to redirect to the customers action. Now Odoo provides us with a set of services. One of those services is the action service, which we can use to redirect or open any action in Odoo using JavaScript. And inside that service we have a method called doAction. And rest is simple. We are just going to add the type of action, which in our case is this. Then we have to specify the model, and for the customers, as we know, the model is REST partner. Then the name, it's not compulsory. Then view mod, which will be tree, form. By the way, this tree is renamed as list in Odoo 18, so we have to code accordingly. And you can also specify the views which you want for this specific action. For now I'm just going to use the default view, so I can just pass false for this. Let's add some target. That will be current. And lastly, if you want to add some specific ID, you can add that also. Now this is not required, but I am just adding this attribute so that you can use it if you want. So what we have done so far, we have extended this list controller and added a function. This is basically the function that we are going to call once I click on this button. So let's go on and add this. In the on-click event, we can simply specify that we are going to call this method, and we don't need to add the parentheses here. So let's just keep it that way. Now I have added the function and we have extended the list controller, but we have to firstly add it in the view registry, and then lastly we have to include this controller inside the list view so that this function is available inside that list view. So firstly let's add it in the views registry. So I'm just going to use let's just call it view registry, and then registry dot category. From the category I'm going to use the views category since we are adding it in the views, and then we are going to export our list controller. It just should be a different name. Now since we have not changed anything in the list view, we'll just keep it as it is, and for the controller we are going to include our controller this time, and then lastly we have to add this class, this controller, as for example Odoo OWL list controller. So we have successfully extended the list controller, added it in the list view, and then we have created our own JavaScript class that has all this functionality in it. So whenever a list view is rendered, we will have this all code wherever we are going to use this JavaScript class. Now we can do one more thing here that I want to tell you guys. So whenever we create any component in OWL JavaScript, we have a setup folder. It's basically like a constructor. So you can add your own constructor here by calling the super constructor, and then you can just add your own code here. So whenever this controller is rendered in the list view here, whenever we refresh, this specific constructor will be called. So this is just for the information. For now we are just concerned about this method. So let's go on and add this JavaScript in our manifest. We have already done that. And lastly we have to add this JavaScript class which we have just created here in this list view. So I'm just going to take the list. Actually I have already inherited the sales order or the quotation tree here. We are just going to use XPath tree position attributes, and we are going to add a new attribute which is JS class, and inside this we are going to add this class. So now this sales order tree knows that whenever I'm going to render the list view, I have to get the content from this JavaScript class, and inside this JavaScript class we are already extending the list controller, adding this function, and after extending the list controller we are adding it into the list view. And this JavaScript class has its own controller, this one. So now we have to go on and add that sales file also, sale.xml here. And after doing so, we can just simply go on and restart the server and upgrade our module. Okay, now I'm going to sales module, and now if I click on the customers button, it is displaying an error, invalid handler received undefined. Go to inspect console, and it is saying that we could not get, so I get it, we have to change this path. This path is not correct, so make sure that this path is correct always. And now I am going to upgrade the module again, and hopefully it will work this time. Alright, so let's go to sales module, click on customers, and as you can see that now it is redirecting to the customers action. So this is how, using OWL JavaScript, you can add a button in the list view. In the upcoming videos we'll see how we can add it in the Kanban view and other views using OWL JavaScript. Thanks for watching.